Welcome back. Episode 41, Cutoffs and Coffee. James and CT here from T3 Performance. As always, today on episode 41, we have Dominic Jones. DJ is the co-founder of Legacy U and executive director of the Legacy Youth Football League in Columbus, Ohio. He's also a father, a former professional football player, a husband, an entrepreneur, one of the hardest workers in the business. This is a guy I got to know very well, playing football with him in the Arena Football League here in Cleveland. And then he spent a couple years coaching the teams that I was playing for. And I've always looked up to DJ. He's just an incredible human being, and he's got some incredible thoughts, and he has been doing some really great things in Columbus. And so listen to this episode. You're going to get his story, how he got to where he's at, and how he thinks we as individuals who work with children and parents who have children, he gives us his take on what he thinks the best things we can do for these children to make sure that they have great futures.
This episode is brought to you by Underdog Fitness Tri-Blend T-shirt, the second best T-shirt to work out in. Obviously, Cutoffs and Coffee gear, that's number one. All right, but we can also cut the sleeves off of this guy. This is a tri-blend. It's super comfortable. You might as well get two, one to work out in and one to just hang out in.
I know I've got my two that I wore both yesterday. One's a cutoff, one's got the sleeves on. So like James always says, take the tarp off, got the guns out. So if you like what we're doing here on Cutoffs and Coffee, like, subscribe, share, follow, hit us up. Let us know who you want to hear on. Give us 5-star review. Let us know what you think about it. Get the gear, support. We appreciate everybody for listening. Without further ado, guys, episode 41. Let's do it. Cutoffs and Coffee with DJ. Enjoy. DJ, welcome to Cutoffs and Coffee, man. Episode 41. We're happy to have you. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. About yourself? Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. I'm so glad we could make this happen, dude. So much awesome stuff going on in your life to talk about here on the podcast. I want to kick this thing off, though, to ask you a couple questions just to get us going. So for the people who don't know Dominic Jones, what's one thing that we need to know about you that we can't find from a quick Google or Instagram search?
I had to say, I'm in love with the game of golf, and you might not see that anywhere, you might not read that anywhere, but I didn't play, since I've been a kid. I just picked it up 3 years ago, but I'm in love with it. So that's probably the one thing that people can Google about. I mean, that can't find on Google. I had to say, give one more answer too, if I can get two. Probably would be, I have a shoe addiction, and again, I don't post frequently about it. Nobody would know it, but that's just one of my addictions that, I can't really shake right now. Shoe addiction.
What's your favorite shoe? And I'm a novice shoe guy. I don't know much about them, but
I'm a Nike guy. I just naturally a Nike guy, which is / Jordan, and I'm just waiting for drops. I'm okay, talking to my kids about the releases that's coming out now. So I got to stay connected. Man,
Yeah. So. The Answer 4s, the Iversons with the little half zipper in the front. Those were the first time I ever saw a shoe. And I thought, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get why people are in love with these. And then recently the Jordan 1s, every time I would never recognize any shoe anybody had, but if I see somebody with the 1s, I'm then okay, what are those? Those look pretty smooth. Had a follow-up question with the golf too. Why did you start? Why'd you start so late?
No. Listen, I always thought golf was just a white man sport. It was just man, I ain't from you, man. I ain't, you know what I mean? You turn on TV, it was slow, it was kind of boring. You got the guy that's on there talking quiet, and this is just talking like this, and he's playing this. And it's you know what I mean? It's just I'm cool.
But when you put it that way, yeah, I don't want to go play again.
And then literally I was I was transitioning to the nonprofit stuff, and obviously we'll get to that a little bit later. But and I got invited to an outing. So I was like, man, I don't really play. It's like, man, just come and I mean, really, it's about, you know, just having a good time for real. You know, bring got the golf cart going. You know what I mean? Just come out there, just dress the part. You could be okay. And I went out there. I wasn't dressed to part. I thought I was until I got out there like, I'm not really dressed how I should be. And then get up here and give it a whisk. You know what I mean? And so I get up there and I'm swinging. And I was just like, I've never felt so embarrassed like with a sport for real, like ever. Like, I mean, no matter what I've done, you know what I mean? I always felt like I was pretty good to compete, whatever it is. And so, but I started swinging that club and I was just horrible. So I was like, okay, like, I'm probably going to get invited to more outings, you know, just the nature of what I'm doing and, you know, my circle. So I'm about to get out here and really start learning. And I went out there. I went to Play It Again Sports, so I didn't spend. I think I maybe spent $80 on an old set, and I just started going out there playing. I started going to the range. Like, I never got a teacher. I just kind of talked to people. Okay, that's how you do this. Okay, I looked up some stuff on YouTube, and I just self-taught myself for like the first 2 years, and I literally just got lessons, like maybe like 8 months ago. You know what I mean? So I kind of did probably the reverse opposite, but. Probably again being embarrassed at an outing was probably the thing that clicked for me. Like, man, let me go do this, you know. And so obviously there's great added benefits from it, man. I love it just for my mental health and you know, just understanding the game now too. Got a greater appreciation for it.
Right.
You know, but yeah, man, I wish I would have got a hold of it a lot earlier.
Has the shoe addiction crossed over into the golf skill acquisition, and have you merged those? You got some pretty nice golf shoes, I'm assuming.
Y'all got a second? Like 2 seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, give me like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Right quick.
All right.
If you're watching the video, I guess if you're not, DJ just ran out. James fired him up with the golf shoe question. I was thinking the same thing, because they do have those little attachments you can put on any shoe.
Yep, you can convert,
which really expands, which really expands the type of shoe. We're gonna have people out there on Crocs.
Expanded these bad boys.
Oh, here we go.
Oh man.
Wow.
Now, did you convert that? We were just talking about how they have conversion kits now for golf shoes. Did you convert those into golf shoes, or did you get those like that?
Yeah, we got these like this. So
wow,
the Jordan Taxi 12 golf shoes is a real thing, like a real release.
Oh man.
Had to happen, man.
Had to happen. There are some things that come up and you think that, I can't live life without this.
In golf especially, it's about how good you look. You know, it's not about how you play.
Because you're not going to play, like, you've established that you're not probably going to play.
We're not going to be good. Let's look good doing that at least. Man,
we're gonna play just fine. We're gonna play just fine, but we're gonna look way better than that. DJ, our second question is always, what was the most recent skill that you've taught yourself, or something you're currently working on? And so, is there something that you can think of outside of your golf game?
Yeah, for sure. I picked this up to actually save money, and I just been recently just kept doing it. So when I first started my company, one of the things that we needed but didn't necessarily have a budget for was marketing material, like flyers and any type of graphics that need to be posted via social, etc. And so I went out, got a couple of softwares, and just started learning. And so to see my first ever graphic I made, to see where I'm at now. I mean, a lot of people still don't know that. That's like a, hidden secret, is because I don't like doing it for other people. You know what I mean? But for me to sit down and take a few hours to like create and design a lot of anything that we post with Legacy U or Legacy Youth Academy, like I'm doing the graphic side of it. You know what I mean? And so again, nobody really knows that, but that's a skill that I've picked up over the last 3 years just to be able to save money, So eventually, like I want to pass it on, but I've been kind of like, I like it. So it's just like, but I'm gonna have to pass it on at some point to somebody else to do.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but I think there's definitely a benefit to having from having our sports background to doing something creative and artistic and expressive.
Mm-hmm.
I think is so interesting when athletes, it seems to be a lot of times like post-career too, get into it. And it's just something they enjoy because it's not head-to-head collision. It's not aggressive. It's not use your strength and speed. It's like really sit down, look at something, think about it, meditate over it, and create it.
Yeah.
And that's such a great thing to have. Like for me, music has been like that since I was playing, and it's cool to see the graphic design stuff.
Yeah,
but I mean, you got to have, both kind of the yin and the yang there, I think. That's awesome. Cause you do have some cool stuff. Obviously you're wearing the Legacy gear, and we'll get in that conversation here shortly. But I was scrolling through Twitter and you had those Legacy videos.
Yeah.
Are you doing some of that stuff, or is it?
So I don't touch the videos right now, and I probably won't because that's just ain't my lane. I don't got the time to break down,
Yeah, because those were tough.
Yeah, man. And so
those were tough.
And it honestly makes it hard to, like, our video guy was a young dude, and he was just trying to get in the game, but he was super dope to me. And so I was like, yo, this is when I was running the Destroyers. I'm like, yo, won't you come do some stuff for the Destroyers? He was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do it. He did a pro bono, the first one. And I took him to the team at the time, and the team was like, nah, we cool, we got our video people. I was like, all right. So I still snuck him into the facility one day. I got like 4 or 5 players to meet me there at like 6 a.m. And we took like an hour, did a dope shoot. And then after a staff meeting one day, when the owners came in too, I was like, oh, by the way, like I got this video I want to show everybody real quick. It's gonna take about 60 seconds. It was like, all right. I showed it to him. It was like, who did this? How much does it cost? Can they keep doing it? You know what I mean? And so from that point on, we ended up hiring him to do all of our videos and all that stuff with the Destroyers. And then that catapulted him into a lot of other opportunities, and me doing documentaries with Bowling Green now and all the other stuff. So I tell him, like, bro, don't forget about the little people, bro. Like, I know you, bro.
Right.
But nah, he's super dope, young, again, artistic, but he understands our vision and our brand. I think that's why the videos work, because he's like, let me take y'all attitude and y'all personality and throw it into these videos to reflect truly who we are. And I think that's dope. But again, it makes it hard for me sometimes because it's almost like the graphics has to match that same energy and attitude as the videos. You know what I mean? But they're the same people doing it. And so, but yeah, man. So the video piece is something I won't never touch. But trying to stay locked in with it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, tell us your story, man. We talked about the Destroyers a little bit. Would love to hear about that, about your time with the Cavs.
Yeah.
Playing college professionally. You've done a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of run us through your story and get us up to speed of where you're at now.
Yeah, man. Born and raised Columbus, Ohio. Went to the Brookhaven High School in Columbus, Ohio. I call it the factory. Brookhaven High School is synonymous with some of the top high schools around the country when it comes to basketball, football, track, girls basketball, etc. And so, we won our first ever City League state championship in football. We beat Avon Lake. Beat Avon Lake, where they hadn't lost in like 2 years when we beat them too. And they had guys like Trey Strauss and Means and had a lot of guys that was going D1 at the time. But when I won a state championship, you know, left there and went to the University of Minnesota. People always ask me, how the hell did you get to the University of Minnesota from Columbus? And, you know, we got there because I was originally committed to Pittsburgh, honestly, verbally committed to Pitt. And I committed to Pitt because at the time when I went and visited, it was, you know, Larry Fitzgerald, it was, you know, Darrell Revis, it was, I mean, it was LaShawn McCoy. Like, it was a lot of cats there that was like putting on, and Pittsburgh was, you know, it was doing it. I mean, they had Dave Weinstein, I believe, you know, who formerly coached in the NFL. So, you know, he had NFL type staff. It just was a dope, you know, I was like, yo, like I could see myself here, wasn't that far from home. And then I had that was going into my junior year. So I committed as a sophomore, like going into my junior year. So after my junior year, we won you know, I won D2 player of the year, you know, that year. And then I went to a Michigan camp, and then, you know, I got into it with Mario Manningham. So me and Mario Manningham, he was a Nike All-American camp, but it was held at Michigan. We started going one-on-one. He won one, and I came back and won one, and he won two, and I came back and won two. And so, like, we going back and forth. So basically the camp started saying, like, it was Charles Woodson and, you know, Marcus Ray, just a lot of people over there. They like, I see them two go at it again. So now the whole camp is just watching us two go back and forth. We talking okay shit. And then after that, the last rep, we literally got into like a scuffle. It was heading that way. We got into it. They threw a deep ball, and he kind of like had it. And I was like fighting through it all the way to the ground, and I like pulled it out. So some people was like, nah, it was a catch. Some people were like, nah, that was incomplete. And we got up and started drawing. We started fighting. And so, you know, it came, broke us up. And then, you know, we separated. They ended it. And the next thing you know, we had some of the GAs came to us like, you know, during lunch, like, hey, coach wants to see you. I'm like, damn, I'm about to get kicked out of that camp. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And so I get upstairs to Lloyd Carr, was coach at the time. I get upstairs to the office, and it's Lloyd Carr, a couple other people, defensive back coach, wide receiver coach, and I see Mario standing right there too. I'm like, damn, like we both about to get kicked out. But really, he was just like, y'all good now? And we was like, yeah. And he was just like, okay. He was like, how you both like to be Wolverines? And kind of just was like, yeah. He was like, yeah. Like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know, he like, I know you committed, but like, you know, what's up? And I'm like, I just gotta talk to the fam, but like, I'm with it. Like, and so at that point in time, I thought that I literally was going to like decommit from Pitt and go to Michigan. That wasn't something I put out there, but like at least internally with my family, like I was like strongly considering like, yeah, I'm about to just go to Michigan. And at the time, you know, they was putting out defensive backs. You know what I mean? They was putting people in the league. You know what I mean? And so I was like, cool. Like, in my high school was blue and gold. My youth football team in Columbus was blue and gold. So I'm like, all right, the synergy is there. Like, and then I remember coming back to my senior year. I remember Mitch Browning. I'll never forget. He was one of the top recruiters at the time in the country, and he was an offensive line coach for University of Minnesota. But he knew Columbus through and through, and he came to our school one day and was just talking that talk to us. And then, you know, and honestly, I never wanted to disrespect any recruiter, even if I didn't think I was going to go to that college. But I was jokingly told Mitch, like, yo, man, if you can get me, my brother, my cousin, you know, my other cousin a scholarship, like, give me 4 scholarships, man. We coming to Minnesota, man. But you got to get us all 4 scholarships. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I need a number 2. You know what I'm saying? And so he was like, all right, like, let me work on that. He like, give me like a week. I was like, all right. And so not thinking that like he would go do it. But within a week, like, he came back like, listen, I got 3 scholarships, and your cousin, I can't get him a scholarship, but I can get him a preferred walk-on. I get him some additional dollars, outside of football, and all 4 of y'all can be there. I was like, you serious? He was like, yeah. And so it was still Big Ten ball. We felt like, like we didn't care what we went. We thought we could play, you know what I mean? And so we was like, fuck it, let's go there. You know what I mean? We went on the visit and we loved it. We liked it. And so we committed there. And so I spent 2 years there, had some success. I ended up playing as a true freshman. I started, ironically, we had 3 games, 2 non-conference games, and 3 non-conference games, and I might have played like 30 to 40 plays on defense as a nickel back. I started as a punt returner my true freshman year, but that was the extent of me playing. And then the fourth game of the year, our starting safety got hurt. He was the NFL draft prospect, like second overall pick projection. Second round pick projection, and he got hurt, ended his career, shoulder injury. And the next game, he was out. The next game was Michigan week. I'm literally in meetings preparing from a defensive back perspective, from a corner's perspective. And they called me into a meeting afterwards, like, yeah, we moving you to safety this week. You started, it was like in the big house too. I was like, all right. Like, so my first college game actually ever starting was in the big house against Michigan. They were ranked. We were like ranked, but we were lower ranked than them. And we went in the big house and we won. It's like a Big Ten instant classic too. Lawrence Maroney, Gary Russell, they break long runs, and we ended up winning on the last second field goal. I actually had an interception against Mario. They was throwing the ball to Mario Manningham.
I was going to say Manningham had to be there then, right?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah. So I wasn't guarding him per se one-on-one, but we had some interactions with him throwing the ball, me coming and catching and hitting, some jawing going back and forth with that. And then they threw because Chad Henne was the quarterback at the time. Chad Henne double pumps. It was a double move on the outside, and he gets our corner. I'm playing a free. I fly over there, though. Boom, intercepts the ball. My interception is called back from a late hit on the quarterback. Run for the passer. So it took away my fucking interception, but man, but it was a great experience, you know what I mean? And everything kind of just coming full circle. But then so there for 2 years, and end up getting in trouble. And man, and got accused of sexual assault, and which was a crazy time, because at that point in time, like I had already played 2 years. Like I was freshman first team all Big Ten. Like I was, my second year, I led the Big Ten in safeties and tackles, and I was leading the country in punt return. Big Ten and punt return, kickoff return averages. I was like in the top 5 in the country in terms of kickoff return, punt return averages in Division 1, 2, or 3. I was leading over cats like Ted Ginn, Steve Breston, Derek Williams, like some of the top cats at that time. You know what I'm saying? Deshaun Jackson, and my numbers was right up there with those, with those guys. And so that momentum kind of was taken away. And then I ended up getting acquitted, of that. But I also ended up, moving out of University of Minnesota. And I had to figure out like, what I was going to do. And so in that year transition, I ended up leaving Minnesota eventually, and enrolled into Otterbein University. So it's a D3 school in Columbus, in Westerville, Ohio, but really Columbus. And, they're in the same league as like Mount Union and, and all those guys. So I went there, man. It was, my first year there, it was a D3 All-American in 2 positions, you know what I mean? As a returner and as a safety. And at that specific time too, I was leading the country on kickoff return average too. I was averaging like almost like 40 yards per return or some shit. It was something crazy. And then, so after that, I was drawing a lot of NFL interest still, and so I was like, Neil Cornrich was my agent at the time. And Neil was like, I think you good. Like you probably, because of your route here, teams probably won't draft you, but don't worry about that. Like, cats who get drafted ain't sticking on the team. Like a lot of free agents will stick to the team. Like, we're gonna get you signed somewhere. And so draft came, it went. We had a lot of interest. And I went to like 3-4 teams, bro, and couldn't pass a physical. you know, and because my shoulder had messed up in college at Minnesota and I needed surgery. I never got the surgery. And my shoulder kind of healed wrong. Everybody knew I was a thumper too. Like I was physical. So that was a large part of, you know, why like, oh, okay, we you know, we're not about to spend the money on a cat who, you know, who has some technically some issues and but now his body ain't 100% too. You know what I mean? Nah, probably not. You know what I mean? And so at the time I'm like, all right, cool. I contemplated not playing no more. And then I got to end up getting a call from Ron Selesky. And, you know, and Selesky was just like, you know, how'd you feel about kind of play arena ball? And I was just like, didn't know much about it, honestly. And so he invited me up to a practice and I was there and I was like, okay. He was like, you want to, I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, so he ended up signing me. I went to my first training camp, arena, and kind of never looked back, man. You know, I started picking up the game. You know, I think I had some good people around me with like Tim Cheatwood and, you know, Joe Fennessy at the time. Levy Brown was a special cat too back then. You know, but I started understanding and learning the game, and it kind of just took off, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of led me into the whole arena realm, which kind of catapulted me to all the other shit that I'm doing right now, honestly. So that was like the career-wise, how I got to kind of where I'm at professionally in high school, all that stuff.
Yeah, so take us kind of from your playing days into what you're doing now. You know, everybody has that point where they realize, okay, hey, I'm not an athlete anymore. I have to take that next step into figure out what I'm going to be doing. What was that next step for you?
Man, honestly, you know, one of the hardest things for athletes to do is transition. Like, people don't understand, like, especially athletes that play at a high level, like, you know, you've been playing at a high level for majority of your life. You've been having success. You know, you've been kind of the cat that's been always safe, so to speak. Like, you know, I know I'm gonna make the team. Like, and other cats have been in these brinks, or even if they made the team, they're not really gonna play, right? And so to have somebody tell you at any point in time that you're not good enough to play anymore, or to come to that realization that I physically can't do what I used to do anymore, or come to the realization that, hey, some young dude's coming through is better than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just, you know, he surpassed me. And so, right. So one of those things are going to happen. And again, for athletes, sometimes it's hard to transition out of that to what's next. And for me, you know, I knew I wanted to work in sports. As I got to the Cavs, I say the Cavs because Dan Gilbert owned the Gladiators at the time. And, you know, but Dan didn't know who the hell we were, for real. I mean, he owned the team, but I maybe had seen the man maybe one time, you know, my first year or something like that, for my first 2 years. And so after that, I understood, started seeing, you know, guys coming to the games in suits and what they were doing. I'm like, hell, they doing? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure their paycheck's a lot bigger than mine. You know what I'm saying? But I'm the one out here basically running my head through a wall. You know what I mean? And so I started getting intrigued by a lot of things that was going on off the field. And so I was able to see Dan Gilbert one time, Flashes of Hope event. You know, everybody dressed up for Cancer CT, probably know about that. And when I seen him, you know, went up to him and told him, hey, man, I think it's dope what you did with Quicken Loans Arena with $1,200. And I just started running all the stuff down to Dan. Like, he was just like, what's your name again? Like, okay, glad. Like, so what do you want to do? And I told him, like, man, I want to work in sports. I don't know what, I don't know what, but I want to work. He was like, give my assistant, like, you know, and you know, they help you figure that out. And so, but at the time, you know, Mike Ostrowski, you know, Pam, Jeff Bowler at the time, you know, Selena, I mean, just a lot of people that were in the Gladiators office technically had worked for the Cavs too. Like, they were all supportive front office people who was like supportive of me trying to understand the business of sports, right? So let me in meetings when they really didn't have to, you know what I mean? And so they introduced me to some of the Cavs personnel, people, and they had me go meet with people and figure out what the hell I wanted to do. And so I met with all those people, came back, was like, I think I want to be involved in the community side of the organization. And so, I went through that transition. During the off season, I would literally go to Cleveland maybe 2 times a week. I'm sitting up there on meetings. I'm sitting in on meetings. I'm meeting with people. Like, it was unpaid. You know what I'm saying? It was just me just wanting to get the knowledge and the toolage of, like, wanting to be involved with the organization. I think for me, I had to show them too. I was like, I'm committed to what I say I'm committed to. But they end up finding me a community position. You know what I mean? That community position, I want to say that they created. It was like this community liaison position. I attended events. Was basically a representation of the organization. So I embraced that role. And from there, I was able to be, manage our community relation, our youth affairs on the charge and monster side, and still have some slight involvement with Cavs things. You know what I mean? So it was like a progression to actually get to that point. And, because I wasn't just interested in coaching, you know what I mean? Like, coaching was one thing I wanted to do. It was like, I'd rather be behind the scenes and actually running a team. And that's something that I know a lot of African Americans too, like, just, didn't have the opportunity or don't even have the opportunity, right, still to today to actually be one of those influential pieces kind of behind the scenes, you know what I mean? So I think the Cavs experience allowed me to transition in a way that, like, was seamless. I don't say seamless, but it allowed me to have a process that I was able to really fully figure out what I wanted to do, which ultimately led me back to Columbus, Ohio. I left the Cavs and came here to be the director of operations, for Arena League teams. So at the time, it's like, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And, which I was back in Columbus, so allowed me to kind of jumpstart our for-profit and nonprofit entities, you know what I mean? And so I was in the city, was able to touch the youth like I really wanted to, and which led us to, Legacy Youth today, you know what I mean? So it's been a domino effect, man, just from playing to those relationships, going through those 5 years or so, you know what I'm saying, with the Cavs organization, learning a lot when it came to marketing and branding and how to make pitches and, all that stuff. Like, I learned it there, you know what I mean? And so, here we are today, it's one of the largest serving youth organizations in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah.
DJ, when you were playing, and this is kind of going to be a 2-parter, you were tenacious, tough, aggressive, rough. I mean, you had mentioned it, a bit of a thumper. You were downhill, hitting people, making big plays. Yeah. First of all, where did that playing style start? Where did you kind of create that? And also, how do you think the strengths that you had on the field carry over to what you're doing now to be able to be also strengths for you in your post-football professional life?
Yeah. Just as a kid, man, I felt like, man, I had so much emotion that I didn't know I had at the time, but like, I had so much trauma built up in me, like, and things that I felt like, it made me like aggressive, and then like, but also I think a little bit of toxic masculinity from my mom's side. My mom just, hey, like, you gotta be tough, like, you gotta do this, you gotta, you know what I mean? Just kind of putting that into you, that my coaches too, right? Like, oh, you gotta be a dog, you gotta be aggressive, and just like, you gotta hit, you gotta run through. And like, I'm one of those people that like took to it, like, okay. So once I figured out, like, like, everybody don't want to hit, like, they don't want to be hit. Like, I think I figured that out at a young age, and I started really just trying to apply that to every facet of the game. Whether I had the ball in my hands, or again, I was on the deeper side of the ball, like, I wanted to be aggressive, right? That seemed to be where everybody else was preaching at the time. Think about the NFL. I want to go to the league. Like, at the time, like, that was like, you talking about the Sean Taylors of the world, you talking about Ray Lewis, you talking about like all these, man, like big time hitters, you know what I mean? And I was a historian of the game, Ronnie Lotz and all them. Like, I'm like, cool, like, that's what I want to do, and so that kind of transitioned, to high school. and I started falling in love with Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders was like 5'8", but he played like he was 6'3". You know what I mean? Played safety, played at Iowa, you know, and played in the Big Ten. So I was able to watch film. So I'm watching film in Minnesota, but like I'm able to watch him play too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, he coming up hitting Marion Barber like that, like 5'8", like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, yo, he's dope. You know, only thing I had probably better than him, like I was able to return the ball. I was a returner. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't, but you know, then I was a 49ers fan. You know what I'm saying? Still a 49ers fan. And so again, just knowing the history of like Ronnie Lott, just like a lot of the hits, those big time defenses and stuff like that, was just like, you know, I wanted to mimic that. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to mimic that. And so I think a large part of who I am today stems from, you know, my aggressive approach. I think, and just like a relentless approach to like when people, you know, opportunities that may or may not be there, right? Like you kind of got to create your own way. Sometimes you got to be persistent, right? Like in your quest, because like being an entrepreneur really isn't something that's just like eat. Like you got to have something in you. Take a special person to get up every single day and not to have the security of a major corporation behind you to be successful. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like you eat what you kill, so to speak. And so I think that aggressive mentality, so to speak, has transitioned to this life, you know, that I'm living now currently, in a way that, again, it just allows me to be able to handle failure, you know, to be able to, you know, literally now play more aggressively, but in a smarter way, right? Like I end up like people don't know, but like I transitioned out of playing because of concussions. You know what I mean, too? Like I wanted to find something else because I just had way too many concussions. But it's like now and I'm playing that same aggressive style, but it's in a way where it's might be typed up. You know what I mean? It might be in this form or that form, but it's still the same mindset. It's like, let me go fucking knock down whatever obstacles in fucking front of me to reach my ultimate goal. Like I got to get there. And if you in the way, like you about to get ran over, I'm gonna knock you down. So I think it's the same still mentality, but again, it's just in a different way. You know, it may not come off as aggressive now, but it's still mentally wise. It's like, no, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I want to read the mission statement here for Legacy U, because I think it's powerful, and then we'll talk a little more on it. But the mission of Legacy U is to develop and prepare student athletes for college and beyond. We achieve that by providing comprehensive workshops, athletic training, and establishing meaningful relationships that strengthen ties to the community and broadens their support network.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously you're doing some great things with it. You're representing the company there on your chest with the brand. Yeah. Tell us more about Legacy U and tell us about that mission statement and why that means so much to you.
Yeah, man. You know, I think about, I was a division. I mean, I had offers from even Ohio State. After we won a state championship, Ohio State came back. Luke Fickell, Jim Tressel, hey DJ, you know, we want you to stay home. You know what I mean? And so at that point in time, I had closed my cycle on pretty much being offered by every Big Ten school. You know what I mean? Penn State, Purdue's, Michigan State. You know, at that point, right? Ohio State was the last one to offer me, and so. You know, and then I had offers again from, you know, the West V's of the world. I mean, all over for real. And was supposed to take a visit to the Florida Gators with Kewan Ratliff and them down there. Was Ty Willingham was a coach in Notre Dame, and so I took a visit there. Like, literally, you know, there was a lot of options on the table for me. But me being as D1 athlete, I don't feel like I was equipped with the right life skills to go and be successful. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, I got to college, but it was just like, we didn't know what the hell financial literacy was. We didn't know, you know, much about saving. We didn't care about credit. like, bro, we going to the league to make millions of dollars, bro. We don't care about no credit, bro. We pay everything in cash. Like, this was the mindset that we just had growing up because cash was king. And this was what was flashed around in our community. This was like, you know, we still watch the music videos, loud change, like, so perception wise, like, we couldn't have been totally more wrong than what we thought this shit really was. But it was like nobody was really around to truly teach us and and give us the life skills that we would need beyond the sport. You know what I mean too, right? Like, because again, when nobody teaching us like, yo, one day this shit gonna come to an end. And so that's where you see in the mission statement to broaden and strengthen the support network, because it's like everything that I do right now and have done, like I'm walking in rooms, and my currency is my relationships. You know what I'm saying? So before I ever had anything to like the relationships that I've built and the support network that I built was my currency. Like that's what led me into some of these rooms. And when I don't have a product to pitch you, I have an idea, like I'm relying on people to vouch for me at that particular time. I'm relying on my relationships. And so it's like, I got that message kind of clicked to me much later than what I felt like I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? And so part of what we're doing now is like, hey, I don't give a fuck if you're a D1 prospect or you just a cat that just want to play sports till you get through high school and you'll never want to play again. Like, we have programs that can help you transition in multi-different facets just to be a productive citizen. You know what I mean? And I think that, that's one of the things that we felt was lacking in our community specifically. And so that just, it was a niche that we thought that we can carve out for ourselves here. We was able to do that. And I think that, what we do is so important because we actually did this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times kids, and this shit, man, you play sports and, you got people that come back, like ain't nothing worse than sometimes like somebody trying to teach them shit and like they've never really kind of done it or like never had any type of like you ain't been in the field. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I'm not listening to you. I'm not taking you serious. Uh-huh. And so for us, it's like, nah, like we can tell you this shit, not because we read it in no book nowhere, but because we can show you the burns, the scars. We can tell you how to stay out of adverse situations. We can tell you about the situation that you're going to be placed in when you go to college on your own and underage drinking and, promiscuous sex going on. Like we could give you these real life stories and have you apply it right now to understand what's ahead of people, what's ahead of these kids. We could tell them how to, what are you going to do when somebody tell you not good no more? We could talk to you about injury. We could talk to you about concussion. We could talk to you about, a lot of the different things that a lot of parents just can't talk about. And why can't the parent talk about it, or why doesn't the kid maybe take to it, is because it's like mom and dad didn't do it. And the harsh reality of less than 2% of athletes all across this country are gonna go pro, bro. Like it's a small percentage of people, and even playing at a big time level, college, bro. Everybody ain't playing at Big Ten level football, bro. Walking in those stadiums and shit. So those experiences translate down to youth. And now with this whole NIL deal popping off, now that Ohio about to be at the forefront too of letting high school players, Ohio is, get paid for their name, image, and likeness, bro. Like the knowledge and information becomes that much more important, right? Like it becomes that much more important because I didn't understand NIL back then. Like literally Dominic Jones, my kids got the games now and I still got them, but like I was fucking number 2 on the game, like my freshman year, my ratings going up as I'm playing and starting now. Like I'm like an 83. I remember I'm like an 83 overall. My speed is like a 97. Like I remember this shit. Like I'm number 2, but it got me from some small crazy town in Ohio. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that's DJ. You know what I'm saying? I got my 2 wristbands that I wore every game right here, and it's like, you go into bookstores. And, after my freshman year, my sophomore year, for the spring game, it was so many number 2 jerseys in the building. It was just like, like my name went on the back of that, but like, that's me. You know what I'm saying? They selling out in a bookstore. And I ain't got no bread. You know what I mean? I ain't getting shit from it, And so I think to understand that process and that feeling of having to go and do autograph sessions, hey, DJ, make sure you're at the center because we got to go over to the school. You got to speak and you got to do some autographs. It's like not really feeling like you had a choice. Neither. It's like this is just part of the shit. Like we paying for you to be here. Like, and so to understand that and to share it with kids now, I think is the power in that is tremendous, and is going to be able to help these kids succeed. So I think, again, a lot of what we do now, we're offering programming, summer enrichment programs, stuff outside of sports, mentorship, events, etc. It's all geared towards shaping, kids and at a grassroots level, and giving them opportunities for understanding, and giving them an opportunity to grow within themselves, find out who they really are, find out what they're really like, with some help. Hey, we're right here with you. As you're trying to figure out and navigate your way through life, like, hey, we're right here with you. You know what I mean? And we're just doing it through creative programming, bro. Like, again, I love walking in buildings and I'm like, oh, Mr. DJ, oh, look at his kicks, look at this. Like, because I meet them where they are, you know what I mean? But I was also throwing a suit for them. You know what I mean? Hey, this event calls for us to be dressed up this way, etc. So we just build, man. I think that we've carved out a niche for ourselves here, man, where people trust us, with their kids, and they trust the vision because it's consistent, right? Like, I mean, anything that's not consistent is going to fold, and people, but if you build something, like, people will eventually come, once they know it's consistent and you're for real. So I think we've shown that thus far too.
What's the process like? Or do they start at a certain age? Do you work them through kind of post-grad? What are the kind of demographics of that?
So, man, we start kids as early from mostly our kids from a training side. We don't like to get kids training until they like 7. We really don't like training kids. But we do have some parents who press their kids who 5 and 6. And so we take some of those in or whatnot. But but we offer a lot of the, speed, agility type training for those specific kids. And as kids are transitioning into more middle school, that's when more of the robust programs come in. I'm talking about like our summer enrichment program, where our college visits and, college tours and stuff like that come up. And then all the way up through seniors, you know what I mean? And so a lot of our, I think we've been, rocking for 2.5 years, you know what I mean? So a lot of people that have transitioned out of our program, maybe went to college, part of that, our connection still to them is like, making them understand and be fully aware that, okay, hey, you're in year 2 of your college career, is the NFL a realistic thing, or is the NBA a realistic thing right now? If it's not, like, that's okay. But like, where do we go? Like, all right, so how do we start to shift your attention? What are some things that you want to do? And I think is for our kids who are right in that sweet spot of probably, again, sixth grade to 12th grade, they're going to have a lot of more of the opportunities to be a part of. We got our life skills for college and beyond course. That's pretty dope. We got our future Black Executives program. That's going to be super dope. That's super dope for them. Again, our summer enrichment programs, our after school programs. So though that specific age group benefits more from that. A lot of our kids from K through 8 benefit a lot from being in our youth sports league too, because our youth sports league offers our award shows. It offers not only, obviously, they're playing football, they're playing the season, but we offer them opportunity to travel. They, they need to, they can make it. And so we've used the little league sports as opportunity to to impact kids off the field too. We just pretty much leverage them playing but they got to attend programs and different stuff like that if they want to be able to play. And so ultimately helps their education as well too. So, but yeah, man, that's kind of the framework right now.
Now, as you transition from being a professional athlete, having a lot of success at the college level, at the professional level, moving into a position where you're learning something completely new on the other side of the field, right? So in the front office, learning that new skill, and then taking both of those things, kind of merging those two different approaches into Legacy U, and understanding that, like, you're helping those athletes that you're in front of realize the connections between what we can learn in sport, what we can learn outside of sport, and how to kind of shape our future, and how we have some onus and control over our future. As you're kind of transitioning more into that mentor role, have you had any paradigm shifting moments that have changed or improved the way that you communicate to the athletes in the youth that you're in front of?
I think what sometimes is difficult for us is, some parents just don't understand and realize how they can negatively affect their kids when it comes to the way that they push them. A lot of parents are pushing their goals and what they wanted to do as adults. They're pushing those same goals and expectations on kids that may not want to do what mom and dad's dream wanted to be. And so a lot of what we have to fight through sometimes or try to get across to some parents is, hey, yo, kick back. We got some parents that want to train a 6-year-old 6 days a week. I'm like, that's not going to make him be more of an NFL or NBA prospect or whatever prospect you think he's going to be, because you're pushing him 6 days a week. If anything, he's going to be burnt out and done by the time he's ninth grade. He's not going to want to play anymore. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of times communicating with parents, giving them the accurate information, because a lot of parents are either misinformed or uninformed, about key things when it comes to their kids and when it comes to, what they need to be successful, because they just generally don't know. And we've won people over by being consistent. I think consistency has been, one of the things that's helped us kind of separate ourselves, from everyone else that's, doing this, so when cats are literally coming to us, for answers, or come to us for, seeking advice, man, we're able to really pull from a lot of examples and touch point on, and if we can't pull from our own examples, like, again, I talked about our support network. Like, I can call this person over here. I can call a couple of my buddies from Ohio State. I can call a couple of my buddies that's in the league right now. Like, I can make these calls and people will pick up the phones. And so I think that, it's allowed us to truly be able to give our kids a well-rounded experience, man, because again, I never tell a kid that he won't go pro in anything. I always say, what are you gonna do after you're done? That's my way of like trying to get them to transition their thoughts. So I'm not really killing their dreams of, you're not going to go to the league. No, bro, you're not good enough to go to the league. I'm not killing that dream, because that's what gets you up every morning. That's what gets you going to practice. That's good. Like, keep it, right? So I just asked them the simple question of, what are you going to do when you're done? Because that could be high school, that could be college, or that could be the pros, and it really starts to get his kids thinking about other things. And I think that's where, we get, we're proud about, because our other programs offer those opportunities for kids outside of just the sports realm, who's been taught that sports was the only way for a while. You know what I mean? And so again, I think using those experiences that I was able to get, with the Cavs, I tell people all the time, like, I work for an organization, I got an NBA championship ring and I never scored a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I say that because I was just a part of a team. Like, I was a small piece of a bigger team, and you don't necessarily have to see team won championships before those teams that's going to win shifts. Yeah, you got to be talented, right? Like, that's part of it, but there has to be some sort of sacrifice for the betterment of the team, for everybody to reach one particular goal. It just has to be some sacrifice on everybody's end. Some people are going to sacrifice more than others, and so we're literally trying to transition our thought process to the youth, and sometimes parents get in the way of that, and again, not because they just want to be assholes, or a lot of times they just don't know. They like they think they care, and that they're helping, but they just don't know, and so they rely on our expertise in our experience to help give them there. Some of them do.
What should they be prioritizing? I know a lot of times in the conversations we have, like you said, training they're young kids 6 days a week, and we don't think that's the best route. What do you think parents, and speaking as a parent, what do you think they should be prioritizing?
I think literally we should be prioritizing education. We should be prioritizing, relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean, like I'm super big on networking and talking to people. And so we should be prioritizing that with our kids. We should be prioritizing letting them figure it out, like not pigeonholing them. You know what I mean? Like so many people, like when I was growing up, my mom knew football, and like that's pretty much what was in my basket. Here you go, right? Like I really didn't have a chance to explore other opportunities. Like I didn't get a chance to play soccer when I was young. I didn't get a chance to, do a lot of other stuff that I probably, golf. We talked about that. Like I like allow your kids to expand their minds at a young age, and they'll they'll gravitate to what they love and what they like to do. And then you figure out how do I support that? Right? Like, how do we get you better? Okay. Oh, you love this? Okay, cool. Like, I'm with it. Like, this is what you get excited about. And so I think that, it's hard to tell parents, what to do. Obviously, like it's their kids, right? But I think that, prioritizing the things that have longevity is paramount, right? I think a lot of the, the killings that we got going on in our country, a lot of the racism and, inequities that we got in our country, it starts at home, bro. Like no kid is born a racist, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they actually learn these behavior, like they learn this practice or these mindset from somewhere. They have to, right? And so I believe that, we should be prioritizing kids having fun and again, allowing them to come into their own. Like they'll literally show you what they're interested in. If you're a parent, you just gotta pay attention. You know what I mean? And obviously they need some guidance along the way, but for the most part, it's like, let kids be kids. That's one of the best things I could have did for my own kid was, he was like, man, you ain't got your son doing this, doing that. When he was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I'm like, nah, he's good. I'm just letting him kind of do his thing. And then now that he's, gotten older, like he started his 7th, 8th grade year, he started to really take it serious. Now it's 9th grade year. Now it's 10th. Like he's continued to elevate every year. And it's like, I didn't even have to press him. You know what I mean? So I tested that theory out when I didn't really know if I was doing the right thing or not. Like I had him around us, at the games and stuff like that. But like, I wasn't pressing him to even play. I wasn't pressing him to play. It's like, bro, this is what you want to do. Like you could, but I ran my race. Like, it's your journey. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm setting my legacy. So I would just say those are some of the things I would prioritize, kids right now, just let them explore, let them figure out what they want to do, talk about, some of the things that we've talked about with your kids right now too at home. Again, because I don't believe that kids are born racist or, no, they aren't born bullies, etc. Like they just stuff that they learn and pick up.
DJ, I've got a vivid memory of traveling from Lorraine, where we had training camp, down to Cleveland for a Cavs event. And you had just started coaching. You were playing the year before, just started coaching after that. The whole drive, 40 minutes, 45-minute drive, you were telling the guys in the bus about how we needed to market ourselves, how we needed to make relationships, how we needed to communicate. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I can't even remember who was in the bus at the time because I was so focused on what you were saying from the driver's seat. Yeah. And I remember thinking, this information that you're sharing basically for free is unbelievable. And I hope these guys are listening to what you're saying and are using it and are then going to take this information to then market themselves as an athlete, as whatever it is they wanted to be. I think about that because it sounds like you were self-taught. You learned all that stuff yourself. Yeah. And then I think about the offer that you have to the youth at Legacy U. How do you think your outcome would have changed if you would have been in a program as a kid like what you're running now?
I just think I would have been more aware. And I do remember that conversation too. I remember that. I remember that time. But I just think I'd have been more aware. And I would have been more prepared. Like literally. I mean, I was talking to my son literally last night, and I was telling my son about think about how you feel when you really know that you studied for a test. Like you really know that I put in the work, I put in the time to study for this test, and you actually go into the test, like the process of waking up in the morning, getting to school, like actually walking into the classroom, to actually sitting down and actually taking the test, to getting up from, it's like you feel totally different. I'm like, fuck, I did pretty well on that. Like, because you put in the work, like, right? Like you literally know you guys went and studied. Think about the person who's walking into that school or waking up that morning that skimmed over their notes 20 minutes beforehand. Their level of anxiety and their confidence going into that test is going to be shot. Like it's just not going to be where yours are. It's just natural. And so like I literally talked to him about that last night and transformed it to everything that he wants to do now, bro. It's like you have to put in the time to prepare for whatever it is that you want to do, like whatever it is. And so when the opportunity does come, like you won't have to spend time getting ready, like because you're ready, like you've been preparing. And so when you're able to speak, like I didn't know when I was going to meet Dan Gilbert, like have a true chance to really talk to him, but just the mere fact that I knew like who he was, that he owned half of Detroit, like what he did to start Quicken Loans Arena, except I was just able to spitfire that when I actually seen him. I was just prepared for that moment. I didn't know that God was preparing me for that moment, but like to me, like that's what it goes back to, is just like getting the information and just being prepared. So like I feel like if I was able to have that information a lot younger, and stuff that I learned a lot younger, it would have prepared me to make better decisions as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, being a big time athlete, right? Like there's just some things that I probably would have been more cognitive of, you know what I mean? And would have been able to, prepare myself better. But I also think that like, it's the gift and the curse too, because I don't think I'm one of those people that believes that, like God does everything for a reason. It's like, I'm not sure with what 20-year-old DJ would have done with millions of dollars at that specific time. I was projected shit. There's 32, now there's more. But at the time there's around about 42 defensive backs that was getting drafted a year. It was like, and they had me in the top 10 around, like 11 for 12 of 42 defensive backs, right? So second round, possibly third, like it just all depends, right? But I'm not sure I would have got the same message about life if it wasn't for me like taking the journey that I was able to take, right? Like I'm not sure I'd be sitting here today with Legacy U, reflecting on, all the things that could have made me a better man, could have made me a better athlete. Like I'm not sure, right? So I feel like in large part is, God just placing a lot of stuff within me to be able to come and give back. So a lot of these cats can be better. So I just think that me having the information, me being able to make informed decisions, bro, like that would have helped me out tremendously.
Yeah, make a lot of good points there. And I've had people ask me similar things about the Arena Football League. Like, man, don't you wish you had the shot that you play in the NFL? And you just say, I don't know. I wouldn't be here for sure.
Yeah.
Right now, if I wouldn't have had the experience I had.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely grateful for where I am now. So it's interesting. I think some people sometimes need to just kind of switch their perspective on that.
Yeah, it was, I was in, I don't know if you remember this, but like I had a little discrepancy with our organization with the Destroyers. With the Gladiators, because I went out and made these number 2 shirts. I remember like it was like these cartoon, like
with the triangle and
it said no fly zone, no fly zone on it, which is a hashtag that we made up. And I actually went to the Cavs like, went to own them like, yo, I got this shirt I want to put into our team store. Like, can we cut a deal? Like, it was like, you know, I'm not sure that was like something that they really wanted to do. I was like, cool. You know, because I wanted the actual real jersey, you know, with the gladiators on it and all that. And so I took them to mock up. They was like, stoked, but they never bid on it. I was like, cool. So I went back to the graphic designer, took the gladiators off, but made it red and black. I basically took the college motto of how I felt in college. Like, that's fucking Dominic Jones. That number 2 jersey you selling is Dominic Jones. And I fucking sold them online. I just posted it, sold my own online, bro. Sold like 300 shirts, 400 shirts, bro, at like $25. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, cool. I take it. You know what I'm saying? I think someone was like $32, like the extra, like the XXX and 4X size that we ordered was like $32 or $35. So it was just like, cool. And I ain't got to share it with y'all. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just that mentality of like controlling your own narrative. Like, how do you do that and still like fit in, right? Like, how do you think beyond the game? And that's why I think I was always encouraging cats to understand. I mean, I still talk to some arena cats today, like, man, I love what you're doing. How do you know what I mean? And I have no problem with giving game, but it's just like, you know, it's something about having information and then apply it. Like I tell people, I don't have, you know, I'm not recreating a wheel here. I don't got these Einstein type, you know, ideas and capabilities. I literally have some of the same ideas of a lot of other people. What's different is the execution. That's like literally the difference. You think and you thought about it. You might have even wrote it down. I did the same shit. Difference is I put that into action. I put that into motion. I followed up this one. Like, I'm the king of follow-up emails. Hey, just want to follow up. I haven't heard, you know what I mean? So it's like the execution is the thing that's different between, you know, me and a lot of people, and just the execution is going to be different between successful and unsuccessful people. That's merely what it is. And so a lot of our cats that played arena football are super smart, you know, and I think a lot of them just, I don't think the Arena Football League done a good job of like, preparing, athletes for, real life. I mean, with the salary that we were making at the time, I mean, there's just no way you can play this game for 8, 10 years, 12 years and like retire and be set for life. Like there's just no way. Right. So it's like, what other things could we have been doing to prepare at? Like, I think about that shit. And so, but again, I still talk to cats today, man, just trying to give them some information and things that ultimately make them better. And sometimes that wasn't liked by like ownership. Sometimes as a coach and as a director, like I was giving cats information that I thought they needed to hear and know so they could make best life decisions for them, bro. And again, that's not probably with ownership group, because information, bro, when you start getting information, you start making informed decisions for best for yourself, not for an owner. You know what I'm saying? Not for a league. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you got to literally make the best decision for yourself. And so I think a lot of that transition over to, again, just the way I've always been. And hell, we were the team that led the strike. And, that ultimately ended up getting cats paid, man. You know what I mean? And so I think just having the knowledge again, same shit that like cats like, I think like the UFC is going through right now, trying to, hey, do we unionize? Hey, somebody's making a whole bunch of money. We're not really capitalized. Like, yes, like somebody's getting paid, bro. Like NIL, like somebody's getting paid. You know what I'm saying? All these cats from across the country, from Cali and Texas and Florida, some of the top players on Twitter right now are talking about parents too. Off Ohio passed this law that lets high school players, take advantage of NIL. We're moving to Ohio. IMG Academy is talking about how do we might have to place a school in Ohio if the NIL takes place, because we're going to lose cats. Cats can get paid millions. High school kids can get paid millions of dollars, but it's a gift and a curse. Who's going to be teaching these kids? Who's going to be literally making sure that these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids aren't getting taken advantage of as well, right? Like, there's so much to think about. And so there has to be things and programs and, stuff in place, but it's like, it's moving, bro. It's happening. Like, it's happening.
I can't imagine.
Yes, it's happening, bro. It's like, shit.
And I kind of go back to like a couple of the things that you wove into your story, some traits that you developed over the years, including that self-awareness, that ability to reflect, that creative outside the box thinking, right? Not everybody was coming out with t-shirts or going to seek a graphic designer to put a product out there. To be able to think critically about your given situation, what's best for me in this moment, and then to be able to take action on those in the execution. Do you feel like with that influx of cash to a high school kid, we might end up negatively impacting those abilities to be able to develop awareness, creativeness, critical thinking skills? Because, for me, those things didn't develop until later as I was maturing as a young adult. To me, that kind of like, I understand like, hey, people are making money off of these high school athletes. But at the same time, like we might lose out on some development of those qualities and our ability to have a self-awareness and an ability to reflect on who am I as an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean, hell, even at 21, sometimes I was still trying to figure it out, right? Like 22, 23, like I turned 30, it was like, I got to figure it out. And I was like, so I almost feel like, we're constantly evolving and like figuring things out as we move in this thing called life, like life is full of ebb and flows, right? And, I talk to my kids all the time about watching. I still just watch the draft like it's a game, right? At least the first and second rounds, like I'm paying attention to everybody. And you see a lot of cats every year fall in the draft because when they were 15, 16 years old, they might have sent out a tweet that was like homophobic, or they might have sent out a racial tweet, or maybe rapping some lyrics, or something happened where all that dropped his draft stock. He where they question somebody's character. And so I try to tell my kids now in the era of social media, because we do social media training with our kids, but I told our kids, what does a post and delete mean? Like kids are like, look, oh, this is a post and delete. Like I ain't leaving this up here for long. It's like, bro, it's already screenshot, it's already screen recorded. You can delete it if you want to, but it's out there, right? And so I think like part of what the investment has to be with Ohio High School Athletic Association is they now have to be willing to put forth the funding to make sure that there's adequate curriculum that gives kids and parents the information about those opportunities, right? Like the money has to be like carved out to provide education and provide information to athletes so they don't get taken advantage of. It's still adults right now in the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and hockey that get taken advantage of. I mean, it's still like, I don't think that'll ever not happen. Like you're just always going to have scumbags who, want to take advantage of people, and those are going to be out there. I just think that I guess I'm one of those people, like you think about some of the YouTubers right now, the kids, they literally get paid $1 million, $2 million to play with toys. You know what I'm saying? Like we literally have kids that are getting paid, $1 million, $2 million to like promote a dance. You got professional TikTokers that are getting X amount. Like these are young kids too, right? And so somebody has to be helping them, with their finances and with their knowledge, etc. And they're not beating their bodies up for real. They ain't taking blows. They ain't taking hits. You know what I'm saying? These hits is totally in up from little league to middle school ball to high school ball to college. So it's like I'm where that fear is like real. That fear that you're talking about is real. I get it. It's almost like shit, if this is going to happen, let's start to set some things in place right now, for us to be able to be that support system. I mean, think about, in Cleveland right now, like there's an opportunity to because this shit is going to happen. And, and can they come to, you got like, is there something that's framework that's built out for parents too, and built out for kids to help understand it more. Because some kids, they still don't understand what NIL really is. Well, yeah, you hear name, image, and likeness, but like, what does that really mean? You know, what is my value? What is my worth? How do I determine that? Right. And so again, I just think it's all about education, bro. Like, you know, kids are very smart. You know, we just have to put the right things and the right people in front of them. It's not gonna happen to everybody. You're gonna have some kids that get taken care of. I mean, maybe I get taken advantage of for sure. It's just part of it. But it's just like, you know, I would if my son had the capability to go earn himself X amount of dollars for a name and image that, you know, he's earned, it's like, cool, bro. Let's find out how to package this and make it best success for you going forward, move forward. And again, a lot of parents won't know because they haven't dealt with it. Hell, we didn't deal with it. You know what I mean? But I think that we have a better understanding of it being in this realm and to be able to help youth out. So it's going to rely on people like us to like step in and like be a part of that transition. Not to say that we can't get paid from it too, because I think it's important to get with, again, Ohio High School Athletic Association, to get with all supporting school districts. Like, this need to be a curriculum. You know what I mean? Like you literally could teach a 9-week course on fucking name, image, and likeness. You literally could, you know, help them understand.
And I think even if that ends up coming to fruition, just because an athlete is getting paid for their name, image, and likeness doesn't mean they like their own name, they like their own image, and they like their own likeness. And True. I think that's kind of more of my underlying concern with something like that, is because we already have that issue in athletics with kids that are getting put on a pedestal. What are some things that you do at Legacy U that help create that ability to reflect for an athlete, that help bring out that creative aspect that I think it's left brain, it could be right brain, but that other side of the brain, and then the ability to take action and that little nudge? What are some things that you weave into your curriculum at Legacy U to touch on those critical aspects of the developing athlete or the developing human?
So we got Wellness Wednesdays, and Wellness Wednesdays is an opportunity for us to literally have roundtable barbershop type discussions about current events, things that are going on in the world, about their personal lives. I make them give me one thing that one thing that's positive that happened to them this week, and give me one thing that happened to you negatively, like, you know, that made you upset or something like that. And merely what we're doing is I want them to recognize and understand that there's things like, no matter how bad you think your life is, like one, the mere fact that you woke up this morning is like a win, right? Like, that means that God has something for you, you know, like, you just got to keep moving, right? But I want them to understand, like, something positive happened to you, like, but what was it? So there's this thought process of going through their days. I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. Okay, well, that was positive too. Like, and actually articulating it, like, it does something to, a kid. And also, again, being able to talk about something that didn't happen so well. I mean, I love giving those. I mean, because I participate in it too. And I'm giving them things that like piss me off or things that had me upset. You know what I mean? And I think they just see, it kind of humanizes everything that we're doing and humanizes us too. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, although I'm your coach, although I'm a mentor, etc., it's like, I still go through things too. But I also sharing with y'all, because guess what? Did I miss a workout? I was upset that day, but did I show up for you? You know what I'm saying? So like, kind of prioritizes things that, although I may be upset and going through things, that I can share them with a group of people. I cannot be judged, right? Suicide rates and, things for that kids, depression in youth and kids, was at an all-time high during COVID. So coming out of that, where kids were able to, fully express themselves now, and really just having a platform to. A lot of kids don't want to express themselves in front of their parents. Sometimes they're scared to get in trouble, and so I think what we've done for our athletes is provide a safe house to express anything that may be on their hearts, whether it be sport related or not, and then be able to adequately get them the resources that they need to be successful. So if I just deem that a kid is he's consistently just super depressed about certain things, etc., it's like, at that point, now I can go get him the natural help that I think that he really needs. Maybe he needs a sports psychiatrist. Maybe he needs this. Maybe he, if someone's struggling with, food, and I know like I'm literally able to pick up off the conversations. Some of the kids don't really know sometimes, but I'm picking up like what other wraparound resource does this family need that maybe we don't even offer. So now I got to outsource it, but like I'm fine with that, you know. And so I think that we've done a good job up to this point, and still figuring out how to get better by just having open dialogue in forums. I think ideally we would like to do more with parents. We've had a couple of sessions with them, and those always go well. But I think I would want to do more with parents, because when kids are leaving us and going home, the messaging has to reflect or stay the same or be supportive of one another for us to really get to where we got to go to. That's where the term "it takes a village" comes from. You know what I mean? Like your kid can come with me for a few hours out of the day, which is great, but that kid got to go home at some point, and if those same principles and things aren't being pushed at that point in time, like it's kind of a regressive kind of action at that point. So, but yeah, bro, I think that's the thing that we try to do, to give our kids a platform to be responsible, open, and share whatever they need to.
I think that's funny that you talk about coaching the parents, because that's immediately what I thought of when you talked about the parent that wanted their 6-year-old training 6 days a week. I was like, that parent needs some coaching, maybe not the kid so much, but definitely the parent. And then recently I was watching TV, and a commercial came on, and there was it was a dinner table scene, and the young student looked really upset. The mom said, "What's wrong?" And the kid just started crying and then walked to their room, and then they start texting, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they send a song, and then the parent now sends a song to the kid, and then everything's okay again. And we have lost our ability to express ourselves. And I made my wife watch this, and I was like, "Do you see what's going on here? They're marketing this, they're pushing this. This is okay to our society to have a text interaction about depression with our own child. Like, let's pay attention to what this narrative is, and let's make sure that we can be better if we're ever lucky enough to bring kids to this world." And that jarred me, and that stuck with me. And I think the expression and your ability to communicate is so important. Athletes that go to Legacy U are lucky to have mentors in addition to their parents. What are some mentors at afar if kids don't have immediate access to Legacy U, or they don't have mentors in their immediate circle? Are there audiobooks that you would be able to recommend? Are there authors that have written good books? Are there other online resources that kids can find to kind of get a mentor from afar?
I would just one book that's not like too demanding, right? Because you talk about reading sometimes. I know even with our kids, like reading is such a depending on where you come from, man, it could be scary, it could be aggressive, right? Like, you think about reading a whole bunch of books and pages, like, but a nice read that will help any athlete, any student, really any parent as well, is Purpose Driven Life, by Rick Warren. All right, so that's the name of the book. It's called Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Now you have to have a little bit of discipline with reading this book, because you only got it, I think it's like 44 days. Would you read this book for 44 days? You only read one chapter at a time, one day. And then you digest this chapter, but it really helps put a lot of things in perspective. So I would recommend that book, Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And then I will also recommend that, like, in the space where you are at, find someone to gravitate to tap into. So what I mean by that, like a lot of our students talk about they got a favorite teacher, or they got a favorite administrator, that they just cling to. They got a favorite uncle. They got a favorite something somewhere, right? And it's like, I always say, like, if my kid is not talking to me, like, I want them talking to somebody. Like I don't really care. Like, I want you expressing yourself and being able to, get it out instead of keep it in. And then, like, for me, even with my wife, like, my kids will go talk to her about certain things and won't talk to me. But it's like, I don't care. Like, you're talking to someone, you're talking to her, and ultimately, like, it comes back to me, right? Like, in some form. So I'm still getting it, even if you don't come to me. I think that's super huge too. And it's like a lot of the teachers that I know and stuff too, it's like they'll talk to students and be involved, but it's like, okay, if they feel like something is, hey, I need to get mom or Luke dad and stuff and get involved, it's like it's this supportive system that that has to be there, bro. Like, it truly takes a village, bro. We leave our, like, think about majority of your life, bro. Like, you leave your mom and your dad or your family, whoever it is, like, bro, you leave them roughly 7, 8 a.m. in the morning to go to school all the way till 3 p.m. And it's like some people got extracurricular activity after school, so that leads you to 4:35. It's like you're literally gone from your parents 5 days a week. Like, from that, like, you're actually gone more from them than you are with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're relying on society to help you parent your kid, bro. Like, when you see my kid in a strange situation, I tell them, man, you see my kid out doing something they ain't supposed to, like, save them. Like, let them, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Put it out there. So it's like you literally relying on the village to take care of your kid. And it's the scariest shit in the world. You know what I mean? But that's where it is, because you can't be with them 24/7. You gotta go to work, you gotta do this. So but I would say, if you don't have anybody, again, going back to the original question, that's directly, like a legacy you or whatnot, find that person in whatever it is that you enjoy doing or you love spending time at, and lean on them.
Great answer, man. You've hit on this a couple different times. We've talked about communication. We've talked about, working with the parents. We've talked about consistency. And we usually wrap up with the question, what do you think we're missing in the strength and conditioning industry? But because you have so much experience in tons of different industries, I want to know, from your perspective as maybe an entrepreneur or a business owner or as a coach or as a player, what do you think we are missing that if we would, again, as people who work with youth and work with kids, what do you think we're missing that if we would start doing today, that we'd be able to benefit our athletes better?
I think that kids naturally, a lot of kids need or have lacked the consistency of people who care about them, like, regardless of how successful or unsuccessful they're being on the field or off the field. It's like, I don't care how many touchdowns you score, how many buckets you score, I don't care how many home runs you hit. Like, I care about you, the person, right? And so I don't think a lot of kids are supported in other ways. For example, we try so hard amongst our staff to make sure we're showing up at events that have nothing to do with the sport, like, at all, and so show up at birthday parties, we're going to show up, at all these different things that has nothing to do with the sport. And I think it builds a bond that goes beyond any sport could ever take you. And that's the legacy aspect. That's the strengthening ties, in our community. Like, and so I go back to fostering relationships and building a network. Again, your currency, until you get out here in the world and you're able to do some things and you're able to document, like, your currency is going to be your relationships. And so, we're doing a program right now with Columbus Police Department here in Franklin University in our city attorney's office. We're literally taking our kids at the grassroots level, and we're starting to build these bonds. Majority of the kids are African American kids, and majority of the police who are policing the communities are, not the same color as them. So how does this interaction work, right? Like, so even beyond the sports, but like how we just communicate and building bonds with humans, like building relationships. Like, my kids always say, "Oh, Coach DJ, we think he might be undercover." Like, they say that because of all the relationships that I have with officers, right? Like, And so I like everything draws back to just, you know, relationships and understanding that the game is just that, like, you know, it's going to take you to some places. And, you know, I'm grateful for the game. Like we talked about, right? Like I'm grateful for Arena. Like it took me to some cities. It took me to some places. I met some awesome people, you know what I mean? But that wasn't the nugget for me. Like the nugget was like being able to draw from all of those, put those within myself, right? Like, and be able to share them with the world from my perspective, you know? So again, man, I think if we was, you know, missing anything, man, it's just to know that, you know, the, you know, preaching that and pushing the narrative that like, this is, you know, sports is just a gateway. It's just an avenue to get you to a larger purpose. Like, I don't think that that's really pushed enough. You know, a guy asked me one time, what was going to be your purpose? And this was before I got to the Destroyers. Before I got to the Gladiators. And I was like, you know, like play football, you know, try to get to the league. Like, I was like, okay, what's going to be your purpose? And I'm like, you know, try to get to the league, try to take care of my family, whatever I got to do, you know, just get back out in the field. He said, cool. He said, well, he said, your purpose is supposed to have eternity. He said, so you sit here telling me that football is, you know, going to be your purpose when you leave. Like that couldn't be accurate. Like your purpose is supposed to, you know, it don't got no shelf life, you know? And it was like, the game does. It was just like, damn, like, so it really started making me start to wrap my head around like what my true purpose is going to be to this world. And I now understand what he's saying is because the game literally took me to some places to be able to help springboard my larger purpose. Even when I'm dead and gone, you know, the things that we're instilling in kids will be able to be passed down to other generations, right? Like, you know, the events that we have, the experience of college tours, et cetera. Like, we're literally leaving a legacy that when we're dead and gone, kids will be able to talk about their experiences for years, you know what I mean, when it comes to legacy. So I think that's the bigger picture that a lot of people who are in you know, in a position to help our youth out just have to understand it's just a bigger purpose.
DJ, I've always looked up to you as a player, as a coach, as a father, as a, you know, an entrepreneur. Always looked up to your work ethic, and I so much appreciate you coming on Cutoffs and Coffee here and sharing your story, you know, and giving us some great nuggets to be able to take away from, and hopefully people, you know, can take some of the things you said and start using them today to help benefit themselves, their lives, the people who they affect. And they need to understand that, you know, hopefully they can understand that they've got a bigger effect on people and kids who see them every day when they sometimes don't think they do. So we
Absolutely.
Appreciate you so much coming on. Where can people find you, man, if they want to be in contact with you, if they want to know more?
Yeah, man, you can go Instagram, I am Dominic Jones, or you can go on Facebook, just Dominic Jones. You can go on Instagram at We Are Legacy U. We got wearelegacyU.com is actually our website. So yeah, man, you can tap into any of those and check in.
Absolutely. And we always leave our listeners with this, and you touched on it, and have gratitude.
Yeah.
One thing we say at the end of every episode. So if you've made it this far, you're still listening, continue to practice gratitude, tell the people that you love them, and live this life stimulated. Thanks everybody. It's been episode 41 with Dominic Jones. See y'all.
Thanks.